First, you need to wait until the engine is completely cool before you try and remove the old spark plugs. While you're waiting, check the new plugs for any defects and check the gaps between the electrodes with a spark plug gauge of the correct thickness. Most spark plug makers recommend a wire type gauge, but you can use sets of feeler gauges too. The gauge should just slide between the electrodes with a slight amount of drag. If the gap is incorrect, the gauge body should have an adjuster for bending the curved side of the electrode slightly until the proper gap is obtained. Be careful, if you're checking the gap on platinum or iridium tip plugs, don't force the gauge between the electrodes. This could scrape the thin coating from the electrodes and greatly reduce the spark plug's life. Sometimes you need to remove parts or engine covers to get better access to the spark plugs. In this instance, all we need to do is remove the engine cover. Next, disconnect the ignition coil electrical connectors, as shown here, or the spark plug caps. It's important to label the coils to keep them in the correct order when reattaching them. If you get the order wrong, the motor's firing order will be wrong and it will run badly or even not at all. If compressed air is available, use it to blow any dirt or foreign material away from around the spark plug. The idea here is to eliminate the possibility of debris falling into the cylinder as the spark plug is removed. Place a spark plug socket and an extension over the plugs and remove them from the engine by turning in an anti-clockwise direction. If you haven't done so already, check the gaps on the spark plugs. If spark plugs have been in place a long time, they can be hard to remove. You can make this job easier by applying a little bit of anti-seize compound to the threads of the new plugs before you insert them. As you thread the new plugs into the holes, it's a good idea to slip a short length of rubber hose over the end of the plug to use as a tool to thread it into place, particularly if the cylinder head is made of aluminium. The hose will grip the plug well enough to turn it, but will start to slip if the plug begins to cross thread in the hole. This will prevent damaged threads and the accompanying repair costs. Tighten the spark plugs to the specified torque setting if it is specified, then refit the ignition coil connectors and tighten any mounting bolts securely. Now refit any items you had to remove to access the spark plugs.